Te reo ererangi o Te Mānia. This episode was produced in Otatahi by Plains Media, with support from New Zealand On Air.
This is Simply Nourish, empowering women through menopause and beyond. I am your host, Brenda Bickerstaff. Join me and my guests for an inspiring conversation about how they survived and thrived during this important new chapter of life. Today I'm joined by someone who truly loves lifting, not just for herself, but for the people she works with. Loretta Hogg is the powerhouse behind Loretta Loves Lifting. She's coached athletes at the highest level, helping them to push boundaries and to perform at their very best. But what I love is that she's just as passionate about working with everyday women who want to feel stronger, healthier, and more confident in their bodies. Loretta has a real gift for taking the principles of elite level training and making them accessible and empowering for women navigating menopausal transition. From supporting bone and muscle health to helping women rediscover what their bodies are capable of, she brings such knowledge and encouragement to the table. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation, especially as this is an area I'm really, really excited to learn more about, because as I've got older, I realised how important staying physically strong and healthy is. So important.
Of health.
Sorry? Should we just get into it? Welcome, Loretta. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Let's first start off with where you're from, how you've got into this industry. What's your background?
Cool. So my parents, they live north of Auckland up in Matakana, and right now I live in Mount Maunganui, but I've always kind of bounced around the country. I've lived in Dunedin, Wanaka, Raglan, lived over in the States and in Canada as well. So, yeah.
And what about your athletic background?
I always was a swimmer, and then when we moved from Auckland up north, I started surf lifesaving. So surf lifesaving was my main sport throughout school. I belonged to the Northern Region team and did a lot of representative stuff with that. And then after school, when I went down to Dunedin, I fell in love with snowboarding. And I actually dropped out of Otago to go snowboarding. And I did back-to-back winters for quite a while, and then kind of decided that through my sporting journey, I wasn't coached well. I didn't learn the basics properly, and so I decided when I went back to university, I was going to do a Bachelor of Sport and Recreation at AUT, and I did double major in coaching and sport management because I wanted other people to have a better journey through sport than what I had experienced. And then when I was at university, I was coaching the local surf club, and I started an ocean swimming group. And then from there, I went out into the workforce, tried to see what jobs I could get, and I just wasn't really able to get the jobs I wanted with just my degree. So I went back and I did my master's in sport and exercise science, and I was pretty lucky to have scholarships with AUT and Paralympics New Zealand and the New Zealand Artificial Limb Service. So I looked at Paralympians with limb deficiency, and while I was doing my master's, I also did an internship with High Performance Sport New Zealand. So that is how I started my strength and conditioning journey.
Okay. So were you involved in with the Paralympics or the para-athletes? So was that, when you say it was a scholarship, what do you mean by that?
So I was doing a research project that looked into their sporting journeys through our sports system. So it was whether para-athletes with limb deficiency were able to join their local clubs and compete against able-bodied people, or whether their parents had to go out and get private coaches, and just like their experience with our system, whether it was like detrimental or whether it was supportive. And then all the way through to them representing New Zealand on the world stage and their experiences with sporting limbs and just like the support that they received. So it was a super interesting and really rewarding study. So I had like Anna Grimaldi, Liam Malone, Cameron Leslie, all those guys were part of my study, which was really awesome.
And to see where they got to, it's a really amazing sort of feeling, eh?
And they just have they've got incredible stories. Like Rory McSweeney and Liam Malone's stories were just awesome. But that's a whole nother podcast.
I was actually trying to think of Liam's name the other day and thinking, he was right at the top of his peak of his career, and just went off to do his own thing, which is great. But yeah, interesting stories.
It's a lot to do with that was actually because like those sporting limbs because they're trying to be as light as possible and as fast as possible, they have minimal cushioning. So he was having multiple surgeries because his stump was bone was wearing through the stump, and that really impacts his ability to train and stuff. So there's a whole aspect of that stuff that goes with parasport.
Yeah. So from there, you said strength training is where you landed, and what did you love about it?
So I guess through my snowboarding, I found that I was using the gym as the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff. So it was whenever I had a really serious injury. So I dislocated my knee 4 times. I'd fractured my back. I broke my elbow. I'd had quite a few concussions. And it was always post-injury rehab to get me back to doing my sport that I was doing the gym work. And I was like, well, if I'd done it the other way around and I'd actually done it as a preventative, how many less injuries would I have, or how less severe would that injury be? Because those injuries took a long time to recover from. So that's kind of why I was like, well, if I get into strength and conditioning, I can really push the message home to athletes that if you do this first, then it's going to give you longevity in your career. And it's also going to mean that those injuries are not going to be as serious, or you will know how to rehab if you get an injury.
So would you consider, and you, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but would you consider that you were quite ahead of your time in those sort of thought patterns, in the sense that seeing that actually strength and conditioning is just as important, shouldn't be at the end of the cycle?
I guess even now there's not that many women in the strength and conditioning space, especially in head roles. So yeah, I guess sports have always been using it, but I think you mainly saw it in a team sport environment where they saw the value of it and they had the resource to be able to afford to have a strength and conditioning coach. And now we're starting to see it trickling down into all sports. And I guess the endurance sports were missing it, and the action sports were initially missing it. And now you would never see an action sport like free skiing or slopestyle snowboarding or surfing without strength and conditioning coaches at that top level.
Because, yeah, absolutely. I could imagine. I didn't even think of it like that, because when you think about surfers even trying to get on the board in some of those conditions, you'd have to be pretty darn strong.
Yeah, and they're traditionally known as sports that wouldn't do traditional training set times and stuff, because they're I guess surfers are always known for their free surfing. They're not known for their competitions.
Yeah. You obviously work with a lot of elite athletes, and you also work with the weekend warrior, or just women trying to get in shape.
So I'll do a bit of a breakdown of what I do. So I'm at the Adam Centre 40 hours a week. So I do approximately 16 hours of coaching on the floor. So that's face-to-face time with athletes.
And are we talking about elite athletes?
Elite athletes, yes. So I'm the head strength and conditioning coach of the Adam Centre. So that is the high performance centre based in Mount Maunganui, New Zealand. So we have quite a few sports in here. We have Phi basketball, the Magic netball, Northern Districts cricket, Bay of Plenty rugby, the Blackfern Sevens, the All Black Sevens, and then my academy, which has about 120 athletes in it, and they are from about 35 different sports. So we've got like Sam Tanner, Hayden Wild when he's home, pro triathlete Hannah Berry, and then I've got age group champs coming through. So yeah, we've got everything from synchronized swimming to motocross.
Wow.
Yeah, so quite a broad range of people in here.
And do they all under like, I mean, I know we will get into menopausal women, but with these elite athletes, are most of them carded?
No, okay. So
is that still a thing?
Yeah, the carding system only covers like our medal prospects. So okay. that is only a few of them are pro, and then the rest of our athletes are self-funded, and many of them are having to try to work full-time as well as navigate getting to the top of their sport as well. So there's like a big piece in there that will relate to your ladies at home, is a lot of people are trying to fit a full training schedule around a work week plus family life plus everything else stress. So that is the one similarity with a lot of our New Zealand high performance representatives, is they are not they're not funded. They are like, they might have a few sponsors, but those sponsors basically pay for their bicycle to get on the airplane. You know, it's not enough money to survive. So they're juggling a lot of balls in the air.
You must also be juggling a lot of balls in the air, because you're working with a lot of incredible athletes. Where do you make time to work with the likes of me, or, you know, just us?
Yeah, so I work 10 hours a week for Stacey as well. So
would you like to explain who Stacey is?
Yes, sure. So Stacey Sims, firstly, she's my bestie. And then secondly, we work together. So I'm pretty lucky that Stacey lives just down the road from me, so we can hang out and go have coffees and bike rides and walks. But Stacey is a female physiologist. She specifically looks at the sex differences between men and women and how we may react differently to things such as the environment or a medication or a training stimulus. And then she's trying to really get the information out there of like how we adapt differently to men to these different stimuli. So so I do work for her, and my main job at the moment is kind of everything before it goes up on YouTube. I have to proof it, and then I guess some of the footage is now maybe 6 or 7 years old, and that research is out of date. So I just have to make sure that I'm identifying if something, maybe the research has been updated and we need to get rid of it. So yeah, that's my role with Stacey, besides drinking coffee with her.
Can't go wrong with that. So you've got Stacey, you've got your elite athletes, and the me's again.
And then me. And so basically what happened through doing all my work with Stacey was, she was like, Loretta, I always get asked for programs. And she's like, I'm not a strength and conditioning coach. I'm a physiologist. And she was like, I want to be recommending someone that I really trust their programming, and I know that they know what they're doing, and I know that they understand the message I am trying to get across. And she was like, if you want to do that, I will back you. And I was like, well, yeah, that's what I love doing. And like, I don't just work with elites. Like I coach my mum. She's 67.
Wonderful, in the prime of your life, so I might add.
I coach her on Zoom twice a week. So we kept that up since COVID. And, you know, like she fully sees the gains from all of this. Like, people can't believe her age. She's got great mobility. She's got great strength. So it's amazing to see everyone improve and succeed. Like, it's not just for the elites. So that's what I wanted to do. And I have some really, really cool clients. Like, I've got people that are like in their 70s and they just love horse riding and they want to keep skiing. And then I've got ladies that are the most competitive I've ever seen in a social tennis league. And then they're saying like their jump height's improved, their change of direction is improved, their speed is improved. So, and then I've got like young professionals that like live in Kuwait that I'm training, which is pretty cool too.
Midlife isn't about slowing down, it's about your comeback. At Simply Nourish, we fuel your energy, build your strength, and help you thrive through the menopause transition. Forget quick fixes. This is about real change, backed by science and led with heart. Join a community of vibrant women rewriting what's possible. Simply Nourish, stronger, wiser, and just getting started.
Start with the smaller dumbbells, and you need to slow down, and which is the complete opposite of what we want to do if we want a health span. So I think we need to change the language. We don't want a lifespan, we want a health span. So basically what we're trying to do is make sure that what we're training for in our later years is to have like good muscle quality, awesome bones, and have enough like mobility and strength that we can do the activities that we want to be doing well into our 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of my things is that I've read a book called The Dopamine Brain, and she talked about in this book about when you're 80 and you look back on your life, what you've achieved. And one of those, like there's many aspects, but one of them is about physical wellness or health span, so we can grow old strong and healthy. Really, really important. When you get women coming to see you, are there any major sort of myths that they're still grasping onto? Like suddenly if I lift a dumbbell, I'm going to have biceps that are bulging, or, you know, that sort of the old school stuff, or are people a little bit better these days about expectations?
I think probably it's almost the opposite. So some of the ladies that I've started working with, they're like, I've been training really hard for 8 months now, and I thought I'd have like massive arms, and they haven't changed that much. And I was like, honestly, if it was that easy, how many jacked teenage boys do you think would have walking around? Because they're the ones that have all the testosterone, all the everything going for them. So if it was super, super easy, every teenage boy would be walking around jacked. But it's actually super, super hard to build muscle. So I don't want them to be discouraged. So we end up looking at markers that they have improved on. So that'll be like some key lifts, like jump height, looking at other metrics to actually see how they've improved. And the DEXA scan is a really, really good one, especially for those women in perimenopause, because there is a bone decline, and it is quite a rapid bone decline in that 5 to 7 years. It's a bit from 10 to 20%. So unless you are actively combating the bone decline, you will have it.
So what's a DEXA scan?
So a DEXA, it looks at your lean mass, your bone mass, and your body fat. And then it breaks down what if you need to specifically ask to get your Z score done, which is your bone density. And what that will look at is the head of the femur and the lumbar spine. And it will look how dense it is, basically. And it's going to tell you whether you're at risk of osteopenia or osteoporosis.
And what's the difference between your osteopenia and we know what osteoporosis is. So there's
osteopenia is basically the start.
Okay.
So it's where the basically the matrix of the bone is starting to degrade. So we want to be trying to keep it as high as possible, and then obviously we want more muscle mass as well. So they're two really good markers to get checked. Most universities will have them. I know that radiology clinics like Bay Radiology have a DEXA machine. Yes, I know in America you can just go pay to get one, but they're definitely worth getting done. And if you are getting them done because it is so hard to build bone and muscle mass, I would recommend only getting one every 12 months. You're not really going to see too much of a change if you're getting them more frequently than that.
So with building bone and muscle mass, I know like with nutrition, that supports it, but how does strength training support muscle and bone health?
Okay, so Tracy Clissold, so she is a senior lecturer at Toyo Homai, and she does a lot of research on bone health and is now becoming internationally recognized. So she's also based here in Tauranga, which is amazing for us. And she has brought out a app which is called Osteo Gains. So basically in this app, and I would honestly 100% recommend everyone to get the app. There's a free component of it, but in her app she has a prep for bone jumping program. So that's a 4-week program to do some strength training at home to get ready to do some jump training to stimulate bone. So that's awesome. There's also another bit in her app that has some mobility and some stretching. And the other thing in there is it has a 52-week jump program to help you increase your bone density, which is incredible. Okay. So 3 minutes a day. 3 minutes a day, 5 times a week.
Okay. Jumping.
Jumping.
Do we jump? Do I jump now? Do I have to jump?
Yep. So
how am I going to jump?
Okay, so to increase your bone density, we need to have some shock. So Tracy explained this today, that you have to do a double jump to get the shock.
And hold on, just going to let the listeners know that Loretta has now stepped away from the camera. She is demonstrating how to jump. We'll have to put this on the
double jump. So you have to go.
Oh, that's like what runners do.
It's a double jump. Yeah. Double jump. Nice and fast. So by doing that, you're sending a shock into the bone, and then it's going to stimulate bone growth. And so why this is important is because when we get to perimenopause and menopause, our estrogen declines. So osteoclasts help us build bone and maintain bone, and osteoblasts break it down. So when we lose estrogen, we lose the ability to build the bone. So then we've got more breakdown. So we need a stimulus to stimulate the bone growth. And what happens with things like walking, you're only putting about 1.5 times your body weight through your feet. Running, you're putting 2.5 times your body weight, and also you're absorbing force, because that's how we can do it repetitively. To get bone stimulation, we need at least 3 times our body weight through, and we need to not be absorbing landing. So that's why activities where we're doing cyclical motions and we can do it repetitively are not good for building bone mass. I'm not saying don't run and don't go on your walks. They have other benefits like cardiovascular health. But if we are trying to get bone density, we need to do purposeful activity to build bone.
Is there any point where it's too late in a woman's life to start building bone?
No.
Okay.
No. Like the studies that Tracy has done has proven that it can be done at any age.
It just, what about, I guess there'll be women out there who would think, I can't jump now, I'm going to hurt my knees or something's going to break. How do we overcome that fear?
So that's where the pre-training comes in. So of course you can't just race into doing full jump training. It's what Stacey and I talk about a lot is progressive overload. So you have to gradually build into something, whether that's strength training, whether that's jump training, every type of training. You're never just going to blast into it because you're going to end up with an injury. So you would never walk into the gym, having never been into a gym, and think you could do a 100-kilo deadlift. That's just, everyone goes, that's silly, that's rubbish. So just don't think you can go into any activity and just go straight to the top. It's going to take time. And so that's why Tracy has that like 4-week prep program at the start, because you need to get strong before you add load. And so that's also why weight training will help you get to be able to do jump training, because if we can build muscle mass and strengthen our ligaments and tendons around our joints, they're obviously going to be able to better handle load. So, like I said, the jump training is only three minutes a day. That's definitely not enough physical activity in general. No. That would probably be an add-on to like your gym session or your running session at the end. You might do some stiff-legged jumps or something.
And how does that, and just on the last little bit on the bone, so how does that actually strengthen bone?
So basically the osteoblasts, they're still there, but your bone will remodel when it has multi-directional stress, because our bodies love stress. That's how we adapt. So if you are always within your comfort zone, nothing will change. So your cardiovascular fitness won't change if you don't push it. Your muscle mass won't change if you're not trying to lift a little bit heavier than normal, and your bones won't change unless you're trying to give them a little bit of stress. So it's a fine art of making sure that you're getting enough stimulus and not too much, because it will end up becoming detrimental if you push too hard. So that's why even if you feel good, don't keep going. Just make it consistency. Consistency trumps everything. So, like if you have never done it before, start off lightly, go for a few weeks and be like, okay, yep, I'm good. I'm still in one piece. I haven't hurt myself. And then that's when you're going to add the next little bit on.
Yeah.
Sprinkle, sprinkle.
I love it. Sprinkle, sprinkle. I love that, because I know there's many times where I've gone and lifted and I thought, I've got this. I can up these. And then boom. Not good. Little steps, sprinkles.
Yeah, it's that one thing. I know that we all want to make like this big shift all at once, but it really is just like one habit at a time. So, like maybe your first thing is going to be that you need to just get up a little bit earlier. So don't be like, I'm getting up early and doing a 10K run. Just be like, okay, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to practice getting up at 5 a.m. and I'm going to put on my music, get a coffee, and I'm going to go for a walk. And then once you're used to getting up early, after maybe 3 weeks, then you can change the activity, because it's always going to take your body a while to adjust. So if you think you're changing your wake time, then you're probably going to be tired for that first week while your body adjusts to that. So it's about like just slowly, incrementally add the habits, add the activities, add the weights, add the jumps. If you do everything at once, you don't even know what's working, what's not working, what's caused something. So yeah, gradual.
Yeah.
Which is really, really hard, because when you're motivated, you just want to go.
Yeah. The first couple of weeks, like, yeah, gung ho, we're out. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, stuff this. I'm shot. I'm gone. Your muscles. So you talked about your ligaments and tendons. So yes. They're obviously important for muscle growth, or
ligaments and tendons. Oh, I'm sure every perimenopausal woman that does exercise knows that those are the things that hurt, and those are the things that are so hard to get rid of. So that is why the progressive overload is so important, because when we're in perimenopause, our estrogen declines, our tendons and ligaments repair with estrogen. And then the other thing is they've got really poor blood supply. So 1, we've had a decline in estrogen. 2, the blood supply is absolute crap. And 3, they take about 12 weeks to adapt, where our muscles are really fast at adapting. So it's about understanding that we can't push them because they will break down. So it's really hard to hear, but they are the main injuries. It's like your plantar fasciitis, your tendinopathies, which are normally like high hamstring or gluteal tendinopathies. Frozen shoulder is when the ligaments in your shoulders start turning into cords, so they stiffen up. So basically what happens when we start losing our estrogen is we lose the elasticity. So important things to do for ligament and tendon health would be isometrics.
Which
So an
is?
isometric is like
She's got a hand
just
on the wall.
not what to do, but like pushing. It doesn't really look like I'm doing anything, but I'm pushing as hard as I can. So an isometric is just a held position where you're like forcing force.
Okay.
Eccentrics is where you lower slowly. So say we did like a calf raise on a step and then we lower our calves slowly down. That is an eccentric. And then the other thing we need, so that basically removes pain and starts getting them strong. But what do our ligaments then lack? I said they lack elasticity. So then we need to have like an activity to keep them springy.
So case study here, which is me,
Mm-hmm.
probably bench pressing a bit too heavy, taking forever for the old shoulder to recover. So that will be because of the estrogen loss, and I've rested, done everything. So that is now going back to doing some of these sort of isometric exercises just to...
Yeah, so isometrics will try to remove the pain. Eccentrics will build the strength, and then we need like a faster movement. So if for your shoulder, it would be if you're lying on a bench in like prone position and doing a drop catch with a ball, trying to get like,
Okay.
yeah. So just like a tennis ball, and you want to be doing like drop catch to try to keep some fast twitch in there as well, because we need the elasticity as well as the strength.
Great. So when we're in this menopausal transition, so essential to be not just thinking about muscles, it's thinking about these ligaments and tendons as well, because do you think they're the ones that would go first, as in injure first, that's going to hinder your development in muscle strength?
It will hinder because it's going to be the thing that prevents you from moving correctly. So the thing with the ligaments and the tendons is they start presenting as a dull ache. And at first you go, it's not that bad, it's a bit of a niggle, and you keep pushing and you keep pushing and you keep pushing, and then all of a sudden you can't do the movement. So if you are feeling those dull aches and they're not going away, please go to a physiotherapist and get it assessed properly and start a good rehab strength plan, because once you've got a serious ligament or tendon issue, they are so hard to get rid of.
Absolutely. I know.
And ligaments and tendons, well, tendons especially, do not repair at rest. They need strength to adapt and improve. So normally when you have like a tendinopathy or something, say that this is your normal tendon, all the fibers are aligned. When you start to have a tendinopathy, the fibers might get a bit crisscrossed and there's a bit of fluid and blood in there. So basically when we do the eccentrics and isometrics, we are trying to realign the fibers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And can I just compliment you on your nails? They look stunning.
Oh, thanks.
Beautiful. Love them. A little digression there. With strength training, my last little bit on strength training, I think, that people talk about, how's it, strength versus power. If we're strong, are we powerful? Or
no?
Okay.
No. So strength, you can be strong, but you will be very slow. So strength doesn't equal power.
Okay.
What I think the main point we need to get across is like, say you're an athlete, you normally do a hypertrophy block, which means a muscle building block, before you do a strength block. So you first build the muscle and then you get it strong and then you do a power block. So that's like traditional strength training. If you're in a gym and you're doing a periodized plan, you don't necessarily, as a perimenopausal woman or a postmenopausal woman, need to do a hypertrophy block, but you do need to do the strength block, because we need to maintain the neural stimulus and we need to maintain our muscle mass. So if you were going to do any two blocks interchangeably in the gym, it would be strength and power.
Okay.
Yeah. It's no harm doing a hypertrophy block, but it's not
Not essential.
It's not essential, and it's not going to contribute to you being able to like have good grip strength, lift things up, like it's hypertrophy is lighter weights in a really high rep range. Yeah, whereas your strength is a heavy weight in a low rep range, and then your power is your light weights in a high rep range. So there is always a place for lighter weights, but you want to make sure that you're moving it with intention. So there's intent behind the movement. So it's going to be quick.
Okay.
You cannot do a power block if you are not strong, because if you're throwing your limbs fast and they're not stable, that is when you're going to get injured. So don't all of a sudden think you can go again from 0 to nothing and into the gym and start doing ball slams and battle ropes and everything like that, because then you will end up with something injured. You need to make sure that you're like stable with all of your joints before you do a power block.
At BBG Built, we're straight talking builders who know the value of comfort, warmth and smart design. Whether you're planning a renovation or something new, we make the process simple and stress-free. Let's help you plan well and build better. Visit www.bbgbuilt.co.nz to get started.
Interesting. And now you mentioned grip strength. I'd read somewhere that a good sign of being strong is if you can fireman carry, is it a certain percentage of your body weight holding dumbbells? Is that correct? Is that something we as menopausal transitional women be looking at?
Yes, so you're referencing Peter Attia. So he talks about being able to carry in a farmer's carry position 75% of your body weight for 60 seconds. And his thing is saying that is a predictor of living independently in your last decade of life. So that's his personal test. But there are many, many studies correlating grip strength to independent living later in life. And the reason isn't just because you're just gripping things. It correlates to your whole body, basically, because if you are constantly holding something, pushing, pulling, lifting, you are going to have better muscle mass and therefore better grip strength than someone that is not always doing those movements. So it's not that you just need to go home and start squeezing your stress balls. You need to actually be doing the full compound movements that help with the grip strength. So if you think in the gym when you're bench pressing or doing a dumbbell row or doing a deadlift, you are there using grip strength. So if you are someone that is using, say, wraps in the gym or lifting gloves, I would advise that maybe you do some of your lifts with just your hands to make sure that you are getting that strength in the forearm and the strength up your arm and the strength in your hands.
Okay. Yeah, so don't get those little squishy things that, like, you probably have never seen them. Back in the olden days, like you held it and it had like a little spring in it and you'd squeeze them together.
Yeah.
So
that will still like semi-train your forearm, but you've got to think, like if we're thinking about longevity and like the health stand and everything, where we don't just want to be training one aspect, because I'll tell you what, if you're just training your hand, it's not going to help you get out of a chair when you're older.
No, and it won't help you get off the floor if you fall.
No.
You need to be able to power you up. Hey, you mentioned something before about the amount of reps or number of lifts we do. I've read what Stacey has said about lifting heavy. What is that? Why do we need to lift heavy, and what does lifting heavy look like to someone who's not gone straight into, lift 100, deadlift 100, but they've worked up to something? How do we know we're lifting heavy, and why should we? lift heavy?
We've done our progressive overload. We're now at a stage where we're quite conditioned for lifting, and we are talking traditional, proper lifting heavy. So lifting heavy is in the 1 to 5 rep range, and that is with good form. So it's always technique before load. We are not doing any ego lifting. That's where the injuries come from. So 1 to 5 rep range with good technique, and that you would only have maybe one more rep in reserve. So it's really, really pushing your body to have some stress so it can adapt. And from Stacey's perspective, she's always talking about neural stimulus and how the neural stimulus to make the fibers contract, the actin and myosin. So actin and myosin are what makes our muscles pull together. When we're younger, it's the estrogen that helps them pull together. When we're older, we are trying to make a neural stimulus pull them together instead of the estrogen.
Because we don't have any.
Yeah. Well, you do. You've got a different form of estrogen, but it's not the same. And it's not as potent. It's not as strong. So it won't have the same response. So basically, we are trying to do that through a neural stimulus instead of using hormones. So that's why we want to be doing the heavy lifts.
Okay. And so when you say good form, does that mean completing, say if you're doing a leg extension, completing the whole extension correctly, but if you get to, say, your 4th or 5th one and you can only get halfway up, then that's where you stop and then you're in that. But if you're getting to 8, that's not heavy enough. It's sort of not what I mean?
If you're going to 8, it's not going to have that same stimulus on your muscles, basically. So we want a strong stimulus. So, she talks about taking creatine. So creatine is part of the ATP cycle, which is the thing that fires your muscles. So it's like something that you do for an explosive action, a sprint, or a very heavy lift. It gets used up. So basically we want that ATP cycle and that system to be working when we're doing our lifting.
Okay.
With a leg extension, obviously when you're using a machine, the injury risk isn't there. So if you have poor form on a leg extension, it's not going to matter. When we're talking about lifting heavy in the 1 to 5, we're typically talking about a compound movement. So that would be a squat, a hex bar deadlift, a power clean, something that is like moving multiple joints.
Yeah. Okay. So you can compound movements, you want to be lifting heavy to about that 5 rep range. But if you're doing your sitting down, just working like a leg extension, still do the 5 heavy, or that's still okay.
You can. Yeah. You definitely can, but like the technique aspect, it's not as important in a machine, because the machine is actually going to put you in quite a safe place. Like it'll be very hard to like twist your knee on a leg extension.
Yeah. And the amount of rest time between?
So if you're ever doing anything explosive or very, very heavy in that rep range, we are saying that you want about 2 minutes rest. And that, again, is to let that ATP cycle recover. So basically, when you're looking at recovery, we can recover to about 70% in 30 seconds. So that's really rapid. And then to get that last 30% takes that extra 90 seconds. And basically, we want that full 100% recovery, because we're going to go in and do another maximal effort. If you don't have that 2 minutes, you'll see your performance gradually declining.
And I guess this is also where it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, that thought pattern of, I've done that, I've achieved that, but I still feel I can do more. And that's where you've got to probably say no, because that's when the injury or the overworking the muscles happen, something like that.
What you mean?
So say if I did 3 sets of 5,
you don't need that much rest, or
like you can be sitting there and there's a minute into it and you think, oh no, I'm feeling great, I'm going to do another
I think you'd quickly find out that instead of being able to do 5 reps, you could only do 3.
Okay.
But you'll see it. You will actually see your performance declining if you are hitting the correct weights. If you are doing less reps and you're still hitting all your rep ranges, I'm going to challenge you that you're probably not lifting heavy enough.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now the next part of us people in the menopausal transition is that a lot of us grew up with doing cardio, doing HIIT, and then of course now there's all this talk around we can't do cardio, we can't do zone 2, we can't do any of this because our cortisol rises and we're going to all get fat. So how do we incorporate cardio and I believe sit into our workout routine, into our life?
Okay, so when people are talking about elevated cortisol for extended periods of time, they're not normally talking about from exercise. If you decide to go for a 10K run, the cortisol you get from your run is not going to keep you at an elevated level for the entire day. So when we're talking about stress responses for cortisol being elevated, that is like work stress, life stress, everything going, and that's keeping your cortisol level high. So like cortisol from running is not dangerous. It's not going to make you fat. So
not
like,
that we care.
If you enjoy going for a run,
Yeah.
go for a run, because I guess it's probably going to reduce the stress rather than increase. Like it's your time to get outside, get in nature, listen to some music, go be you. So like if anything, that's gonna reduce your stress. Same with if you love your F45 class and stuff and you love blasting in there and you love getting your sweat up, go do it. Just realize that you do have to do the heavy lifts as well. So the message from Stacey and I is never that you have to drop things. It's that you just need to make sure you're getting your priorities right. So your bread and butter in this stage of life is lifting heavy so you can reduce the amount of bone mineral density loss, keep your lean muscle mass, and keep the ability to stay strong and have power, which is being able to contract your muscles correctly. So the sprint interval training, this is for best use of time. This is the best bang for buck. So again, if you're doing a hard effort sprint, that is again trying to make everything in your body work really, really hard. So it's all about intensity, not volume. Okay. So we want high intensity, and that is going to again create adaptation because we are putting our body under stress. Whereas if you think about going for your long run, it's not actually, there's not going to be too much adaptation going on there, not unless you're doing repeated efforts and you're training for an event.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And what does that look like? If I'm going to go and do a sit session at the gym, what do I need to feel that I've got to that point?
Okay, so like we use the RPE scale, so more than heart rate, because a lot of the watches and stuff, they have lag time, so it's not going to be a true representation if you're trying to go off a watch. So your RPE is rate of perceived exertion. I would encourage you to just Google it and it will come up with a sheet, and it's got all the definitions of all the different numbers and how to rate yourself. When you are doing a true sprint, you really want to be a 9 or a 10. And if you're not a 9 or a 10, you haven't pushed hard enough. And for all those people that say that they can go to 30 seconds as hard as possible on an assault bike or a treadmill or anything, I don't think you're pushing hard enough, because like, honestly, think about how fast a 100 or 200 meter race is at the Olympics. It's like 10 seconds, 20 seconds or less. And those people are gassed. And I guarantee that you are not working harder than me.
No.
Yeah. So it's about putting maximum effort in. Don't save it up, Sally, and be like, oh yeah, I've got to get to the 30. I would rather that you only got to 15 seconds and you'd thrown everything in.
And I'd still be half a track behind all the sprinters. Well and truly.
So remember that running is probably the most dangerous sprint activity. So I would not start with running, throw that out. Start with like an assault bike, start with like we have watt bikes in here, whatever the gym has, that like a resistance bike, like a spin bike, rowers, ski ergs, all of those things are going to be safer than running. Like you really have to be conditioned for running and have a very strong posterior chain if you're going to do running as your sprints. Yeah, otherwise you will end up injured.
Roger that. I won't run.
No running.
It's all good. It's all
other
good.
things that people can do, because they always say like, oh, I can't do activities, my legs, my knees. Probably my gym would be one of the gyms that are full of the most ACL injuries in the country. So we've got people sitting on boxes doing battle ropes, people sitting on boxes doing ski erg. You can be doing explosive kettlebell swings. There's lots of modifications that you can be doing if you cannot use your legs for sprint interval training.
Great. That's really good to know that there's lots of other things as well. Because some of those other things, assault bikes and that can be quite intimidating.
Yes, 100%.
Just because they're hard. Changing tack slightly. Now we've done this amazing workout. Menopausal woman, what should I be eating afterwards? Should I be knocking back a whole lot of protein, or should I be spending a few more days recovering so I can get the best out of me? What would your recommendation be?
So as your estrogen does come down, it does hinder your ability to recover, which is a bit sucky. So your recovery will take longer, but obviously we've got steps that we can put in place to reduce the recovery time as much as possible. So what we want to do is obviously when we want to fuel pre-training. So say you're training after work, you want to have like a main meal about 2 hours before, and then you want to have a snack about 1 hour to half an hour before you go into the gym, and that is going to be light on fiber and light on fat. So we want a mainly carbohydrate and a little bit of protein. So, like a banana, a couple tablespoons of yogurt, that's perfect pre-gym. Or even that would be the one time that you actually get to have like a white bread honey sandwich, because that's going to be used in your session. So we need the carbohydrate as fuel for our workout, because we do not want to be in an anabolic state, like a breakdown state. So we want to make sure that our muscles are not breaking down. So you need some carbohydrate, because that's going to fuel your workout. Post, this is where Stacey really pushes the protein. So I'm sure you've heard that if you're a menopausal woman, she wants you to have 2.2 grams of protein per kg of body weight a day. So that is where you're going to make sure that you have like something as soon as you finish your session. So this is really, really important. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm going straight home. But how far away is home? And then are you having to cook dinner when you get there? So think about from the time you finish your training to the time you get home, have a shower and cook dinner, it's probably well over an hour. So you've just missed a massive recovery window. So I would encourage everyone to have something in their training bag or in their car that they can start repairing everything as soon as they've finished their workout. So that could be like your protein shake, or an up and go, or just anything that's in the car to start that recovery process straight away. And the other thing that's really important to think about is, when is your next training session? Because it takes the body a full 24 hours to recover with carbohydrates and protein. So if you're someone that has a training session at night and then is going to work out the next morning, that's not 24 hours. So you need to try to repair and recover your body as much as possible in the time you have available between your training sessions. So that's why it's so, so important that you start recovering as soon as you finish your session.
Yep, great advice. Absolutely. We've nearly come to the end of our time, unfortunately, because I've got a trillion other... I know. I've got so many more questions to ask you, and I know...
We can pop part two, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I would be more than happy to do part 2. But before you go, I'm going to throw you some quick fire questions.
Okay.
All right, here you go. Deadlift or squat?
Oh, I'm a hex bar deadlifter every day. Yeah.
Okay. Morning workout or evening workout?
Morning, I'm a 4:30 a.m. get-upper.
Oh, stop it. It's getting lighter soon.
8:30 bedtime.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Okay, tea or coffee?
Oh, Stacey and I, coffee all day.
Coffee all day, love that. Beach walk or mountain hike?
I live at the Mount, so I go on a beach walk to my mountain hike.
Look at you go, girl. What's one small daily habit that makes a big difference?
Waking up in the morning and having my pre-workout snack. And so I am not a protein coffee girly like Stacey. I actually have a banana, Greek yogurt, and a coffee before every single training. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. So that's lifting, swimming, running, always the same. I know my tummy can tolerate that. So
nice. And the last question, your go-to mantra when training gets tough?
Ooh, trust the process and make smart decisions. Right. So mine used to be trust the process, but you can't just blindly trust the process. So you know that you have to trust the process and then you have to make smart decisions along the way to get you to the right end point. So,
Loretta, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been such a rich conversation. I love how you bring together all your experience with elite athletes and bringing those same principles into women in menopausal transition. You've certainly given us a lot to think about. For everyone listening who wants to connect with you, how can they find you?
My Instagram handle is @LorettaLovesLifting. And my website is lorettaloveslifting.com. I have an inquiry form on there, and if you want to sign up to the waitlist for any of my programs, it's up there too. I have a couple of really cool, awesome ebooks as well if you want to see what I'm all about and what I do. So I have one at-home guide with nutritionist Sarah Mortimer. She's really awesome. We swim together. And then I have another one with her and Sam Tanner, who is my 1,500 meter Olympic runner. And that is a 12-week learn to run guide. So if you just want to taste it to kind of see what it's all about, those have everything from like how to pick your shoes, just everything. What's a carbohydrate? What is eccentric, concentric? It's got everything that you need to know about getting into like your lifting journey. So I'd highly recommend having a look at them.
Brilliant. Thank you once again. And I think we should have a part 2.
Yes, I agree. So lovely to be here today.
Yay.
Thank you.
Our listeners are so happy to have you. You've been listening to Simply Nourish, empowering women through menopause and beyond. With me, Brenda Bickerstaff. I'm a certified, registered and experienced nutritionist and menopause coach. I'm passionate about supporting women to thrive during menopause with personally tailored science-backed nutrition and lifestyle strategies. You can find more information at simplynourish.co.nz. We will have a new episode for you on the second Sunday of every month at 5 p.m. on Plains Media. So mark your calendar and tune into 96.9 FM and plains.org.nz or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcast or YouTube. You can also support Simply Nourish, empowering women through menopause and beyond by leaving a review. Stay up to date with the show on Instagram @SimplyNourishNZ and Facebook @SimplyNourish, where I also share the latest health information and strategies to support your menopause journey. Brought to you by BBG Built, your builders of choice, and Simply Nourish. Take care, trust yourself, and remember, small steps for big changes.